The content, views, and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the City of Bremerton, BCAT, their officials, or their employees.
Hi, Bremerton and Kitsap. Welcome to Trash Talk. On this show, we have a chat with a local expert to learn more about waste and waste reduction. My name is Reama, and I cannot wait to learn more about today's topic. Just about everyone in the area has been following the tales of boats anchored in our inlets and bays that sink and pollute our waterways. It's been a hot topic with two big cleanups recently. Neighbors are concerned about our historic oyster beds and salmon runs, and we wonder about the solutions. Today, we welcome someone who can talk us through the topic. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Can you start with what's your history in boating?
My history in boating, I have been sailing for about 55 years, circumnavigated across the pond.
Okay.
Used to race sailboats on the East Coast, Chesapeake Bay. I currently have 3 sailboats. I have the only sailboat in Lake Victoria in East Africa.
Okay.
And I sail on the Indian Ocean. And I came here about 15 years ago on a charter, fell in love with the area.
Yep.
And said I was going to get a boat here and retire here sailing.
Great. I love that.
So that's what I'm doing now.
I love that. A whole lifelong boating journey.
Absolutely.
So you must know a lot about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you get involved with the derelict boats and that issue that we're going to talk about today?
Okay. Kind of 2 things. One, we've had several derelict boats hit a marina where I moor my boat. That started me on my concern with it. Mm-hmm. And then I got into the pollution aspects of it. Because Lake Victoria, where I've lived for over 30 years, has gone from a pristine body of water to one that's so totally polluted you cannot swim in it, you can't drink from it. It's ecologically dead.
Wow.
It was a hotbed of fishing, agriculture, everything. The whole East African economy is based on the lake. And it's now eutrophic and dead.
Wow.
Because of pollution.
Wow.
So there you're talking 35 million people whose livelihoods have been impacted. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I came to love this area is because of its beauty, right?
Same.
Gorgeous waters, scenery, fantastic. And the more I researched about these derelict boats, and became kind of a hub for people to report to a little small group I've started, we've realized the pollution impacts of these things. And it's very frustrating for me because for 2 years I've been reporting on a weekly basis to the DNR saying there's several boats you have to take care of. If they go down, we're having major issues here.
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
The response has been, our hands are tied, there's nothing we can do. Mm-hmm. I was most recently at the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Show having a talk with several concerned boaters, and we said, if the Cardias, one of the first disasters this summer, were to go down, it's unquantifiable.
Right.
And it's in a horrible area to go down.
Right.
That was Saturday evening at 8 o'clock. Sunday morning, I get a phone call from a fellow club member. It's sinking. And
wow.
She sent the iconic picture from
wow.
Sinclair Inlet.
Wow.
And that was the Cardias.
So you mentioned this group that you started,
right.
Puget Sound boating.
We're all about boating.
Okay, yeah.
And about historic vessel preservation, but about just this whole area and
right.
loving older boats.
Right. I see a lot of tips and tricks in the group from boaters that know and want to share their knowledge with each other, which I think is fantastic.
Right, right.
Yeah, it seems like a great community.
And that's exactly it, it's community. What happened was that along the way we found out that the local authorities aren't really involved, and I'm not going to say they don't care, but budgetary, time, manpower constraints tie their hands.
Sure.
And we realized it's going to take a community effort to identify potential derelicts and get the authorities to do something with them. So, for instance, there's 2 people in Sinclair Inlet, and they've started on a monthly basis taking photographs of derelict boats. And what we found out from the Department of Ecology at the cleanup site in the Bremerton Marina was that they monitor these groups, and they can use our pictures as evidence when it comes to seizing boats and pressing charges.
Great.
And they simply don't have the manpower to come out every month
no,
and
how
do
could
this.
They
can't.
Sure.
Port Orchard, their Marine Division of the Sheriff's Office, boat's been out of commission for 6 months. Kitsap County, Sergeant Joe Hedstrom, great guy. He's assigned as a school resource officer. He gets 1 day a month.
One day a month.
One day a month. He cannot be effective.
Sure. It takes a team.
It takes a team.
That's what you've provided a platform for.
And that's what we're starting to do.
Yeah.
And I think the most recent success with that is Indianola, when the fishing vessel Nora beached up there. Immediately, everybody knew what was going on. The sheriff up there is very proactive. That boat was gone in 2 days without a fuel spill.
That's fantastic.
And that's what I'd love to see continue here.
Sure.
Right.
So can you define what a derelict boat is?
All right. There's two types of boats. One is abandoned. The other one is derelict. Abandoned simply means they can't trace the owner to hold them accountable.
Okay.
And it has repercussions on how they can seize the vessel and take care of it. Derelict means the owner can be traced and be held accountable.
Okay.
The downside of that is he can use the court systems and the legal loopholes to avoid the confiscation.
But they're the same level of boat. They're
Same
both
level.
like questionable.
Very questionable.
Okay.
Basically, somebody can no longer afford marina fees, insurance, maintenance, and they just give up and they take the boat and they drop it. And it's becoming more and more of an issue because a lot of these boats, we kind of have two classes of boats, World War II vintage and then 1960s, 70s recreational boats. The recreational boats are single owner, of course. They're aging out. The engines are bad. Nobody's going to put $40,000 into a new engine on an old boat that's worth $5,000. They're not going to pay $1,000 to $1,500 a month in a marina. They're not going to pay $2,000 a year for insurance. So they cut it loose and they anchor it out, and then it's somebody else's problem.
Okay. Which
Right.
turns into all of our problems.
All of our
for
problem.
various reasons.
Right.
Yeah. So can you talk us through some of the sinkings that have happened recently?
Okay, well, since August, we've had, 4 almost sinkings, groundings. Let's talk
Okay.
about sinkings and groundings.
Okay.
Because groundings have the potential to spill just as much fuel,
Sure.
right? That was the problem up in Indianola with the Nora. It ran aground, and there was a big rock seawall there. If the aft end of that boat had turned around with the wind and current and hit the seawall, it would have broken open. And there goes another 5,000 gallons of fuel on the beach up there. Right?
Okay.
And the same.
But that wasn't a sink. That was a ground.
That was a ground.
Okay.
And because totally the Suquamish Sheriff's Office, Police Department, got rid of that boat in 2 days, it was handled safely.
Right.
But it was a community effort, which was great to see.
Sure.
The other one that happened recently was the mollusk that came up from Vashon Island. Its engines burned out, and it drifted into the seawall at Kingston. And that had about 4,000 gallons of fuel on it, and
Okay.
it almost smashed against the seawall there. Luckily, the response from Kitsap, Coast Guard, Fisheries, they got it secured, towed, and anchored in Apple Cove. So the fuel has been taken off it.
Okay.
So it's not as much of a threat. It's still a
Right.
threat if it sinks because there's diesel oil, there's contaminants, all sorts of stuff on there.
Yep.
So we just don't want sinking.
Household waste, hazardous waste.
Hazardous waste.
Yep.
Right. So that's kind of the, let me call it the first class of these vessels, which are owned by individuals. The huge problem we're facing here is the Department of Defense,
Okay.
and that's totally unexpected. But the DOD has boats from World War II. They don't want to spend the money to decommission them, $1 million to $2 million per boat.
Okay.
So they have a program targeted to the Pacific Northwest.
We love boating.
We love boating. So basically, let's sell our crap to individuals. Tell them to go start a GoFundMe campaign and restore the boats. Now, that in and of itself wouldn't be a problem because it's a known procedure. You get $1 million, $2 million, you go up to Port Townsend, you put the boat on the hard, and you restore it. Because these are typically wooden vessels,
Okay.
right, which aren't made to last 100 years these days. But these people don't do that. They have, I'll call them dreamers. That's
Sure.
kind of a generic term.
Sure.
So they go get enough insurance, they start a GoFundMe, and they tie them in a marina. And the marina likes it because it's an attraction. People come down to see this old historic vessel.
Okay.
Right? COVID hit, most of the funding dried up, and these boats just sit without getting proper inspection, maintenance, and then look what happens. I mean, the Bremerton Marina, not only did it cost the government, the DNR had no money to recover this. Their budget was busted, right?
Okay.
So one individual, local Bremerton boy, has chewed up 1/4 of the DNR's budget.
For the state?
For the state.
Okay.
With his boats alone.
I'm
And
impressed.
And he still has sunken boats that they don't have the money to recover. Mm-hmm. So then the Coast Guard steps in, right, with its emergency fuel response funding, right? And they're the ones that footed the bill.
Okay.
Now, Cardeas, we're looking at probably $2 million to raise that. That's also Coast Guard, so it's federal funding, all right? The Dominion, we're looking at probably $2 to $4 million. Costs are not known yet.
Sure.
But anybody who was at the Bremerton Marina and saw the thousands of 55-gallon drums, 100 people working 24/7 for weeks, and they still couldn't get the boat up.
You were there for that
I was
cleanup
there. I was there
effort.
almost every night. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you describe what you saw when you were there?
It's very impressive. The first thing they do is they boom the area. Right. Now, in the case of the Bremerton Marina, that didn't work because the currents are so strong through there. So the oil spill went into Sinclair Inlet, went a bit north, and then went all the way up Dyes Inlet to Silverdale. So the Bridgeview Marina, the Bremerton Yacht Club were all boomed in because of this pollution.
Right.
Right. And it reached Silverdale. And
so boats can't leave.
The boats can't leave.
Wow.
And they have to decontaminate the boats. Right? So they had to decontaminate 60 some odd boats in the Bremerton Marina itself. The local private marinas yacht clubs were left to their own. They were simply told, don't take your boats out.
Right.
Because you're going to spread the pollution.
Right.
So when this happens, generally with diesel fuel that we use on these boats, 50% of it will evaporate due to sunlight and break down with the ozone.
Okay.
But the rest of it slowly sinks. Right? And so it creates a zone. The morphology of it is from the surface, and then it deposits on the bottom.
Okay.
That can take several weeks. Now, in the case of Sinclair Inlet, we have a historic oyster bed,
Right.
which the DNR and wildlife have spent over $1 million to rehabilitate and keep up.
Right.
And then we have 2 vessels sink right there.
Right.
Right? That oyster bed may be dead. Right?
Were you there for that cleanup also?
Yeah, I was there for that cleanup.
Okay. And can you, I'm just really curious about, like, how does the booming work? And
Okay, the booms are these big orange and white booms, and they're supposed to keep the oil that's on the surface. Oh, okay.
Sure, yes.
The scale of the problem, when diesel spills, it spreads a sheen, but that sheen is 4 millionths of an inch thick. So it can go for miles and miles and miles. And so if there's any wind or any current, you'll see the containment booms ripple around. The diesel goes underneath them.
Oh, great.
And then spreads with the current and the wind. And it's totally unpredictable.
Wow.
Right? And so that becomes a huge problem, like up in the San Juans. Now, it's not Bremerton related, but when they've had the fishing vessels go down there, you have the orcas coming in.
Right.
That's an extinction level event. If a superpod were to come down here, and the individuals do come into, they're under the Minette Bridge, they're in Bremerton,
Right.
We're going to lose 1 or 2 of them. But if a superpod comes through, like it did recently by the Tacoma Narrows, that's it, they're gone. And they're not coming back.
They're not coming back?
No.
Wow.
It's just, that's how critical this issue is. Because the toxicity of the fuel to them, and we're already facing other elements from the environment. You know how many calves we lose every year
Right.
from those guys. So you add diesel spills on top of that.
That's why there's so much work in salmon
Rehabs.
fishery and rehab, right?
Right.
Which the timing of some of these sinks
just
was
incredible. Well, look
Right.
at this. The Cardeas went down right in front of the Salmon Run at Gorse.
right.
Right, during spawning season. You could not have picked a worse disaster to have happened at that point. And the crime with that is that boat had been dragged around Puget Sound for 7 years,
Wow.
and the DNR refused to deal with it. Well, what they do is the law here says you have 30 days to anchor in a spot. Then you have to move the boat 5 nautical miles, and no more than 90 days in a year. But because the DNR is not an enforcement agency, the best they can do is go out and put a little yellow parking sticker on the boat
Sure.
and wait for the sheriffs to come drag it. But the sheriffs don't have the resources to do it. So we're kind of stuck in this situation where the law is kind of enabling people who know how to game the system to drag these potential massive environmental disasters around.
And that's where your group has been so impactful, because you have a community that is aware and actionable on reporting.
Right.
And you mentioned that you're building a relationship with the
With the agencies.
Right.
Yes.
So how is that working?
Pretty well, I think. I mean, the sheriff's office, the DNR, they respond within a few hours
Okay.
to requests from us, which is, it hasn't been like that before.
Right.
And I think they're feeling the pressure from social media because, of course, as soon as a boat goes down and people start posting, well, this has been drug around for 7 years, the immediate question that comes to mind from everyone is, why wasn't something done about it?
Sure.
And the fingers get pointed. It's no longer acceptable for the DNR to point its fingers at the sheriff's office and the sheriff's office to point its fingers at the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Everybody has a degree of responsibility and has to step up. And we've kind of proved that happened with the grounding of the Nora in Indianola and with the grounding of the Mollusk in Kingston.
Proved that people are working together.
And the authorities know they're being watched, right? I mean, you're talking 2-day responses here.
Right.
As opposed to years and years of this sort of thing happening.
Right. That makes me feel hopeful about how it could continue to progress and save all of this pollution. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of gallons of oily and diesel and
right.
Yeah, it's impressive.
And look at the cost. I mean, if you saw the pictures from Bremerton Marina, after the booms went up, they had oil and water skimmers. They had crews out there working full time with big wet dry vacs, essentially, trying to get this mess up. But on the docks, they were just hundreds every day. Hundreds of 55-gallon drums would come in, be filled with this stuff, trucked off the disposal site.
Right.
More brought in.
Right.
You know, food tents, med tents, everything. And they spent, 2 weeks the first time? And it wasn't successful. Right. I was there the day that team finally raised the Dominion with the manager of the Bremerton Marina, Kathy, and we could hear the hull crack. Game over.
Yep.
And you've seen the pictures when they brought in the big bucket, right? They just broke it into a million pieces.
And scoop it up.
Right. And now it's going to cost more to clean it up.
Right.
Whereas, and the DNR does have a turn-in program where you can turn your derelict vessel in or your soon-to-be derelict vessel in, right? And it basically no cost to you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's great.
And it's on their website.
Okay.
There's phone numbers and all that. But, like another example I'll give you is Finney Bay. There's a whole bunch of derelict boats out there.
Yes.
So we've held community meetings. And they've all pressured the Department of Ecology and the DNR to say, do something. And there's this now constant stream of enforcement vessels going through.
Right.
Hopefully that will be cleaned up shortly. But that would not happen without a community. And what happens is, I think, everybody goes, well, look, yeah, there's a disaster unfolding. I'm sure other people have called it in. So I'm not going to bother.
Sure.
Right? Or if I send a picture in of this thing, then whoever owns that can identify where this picture was taken from and come back and do something to me.
People are concerned about that.
And they're concerned about that. So there's been a hesitancy, but I'm hoping these 2 massive spills have been kind of a wake-up call.
Yes.
For a time to get people mobilized. So what we'd like to see, Liberty Bay we're kind of working on now, it takes somebody with a boat, it takes somebody who cares about the water, to actually go out once a month, right? There's a guy, Jerry Austin, who's great in Sinclair, and he does a monthly sweep, and he takes the pictures and he posts them.
Right.
And some people actually come back and say, I'm not a derelict, I just don't have a place to moor my boat. I can't afford it.
Right.
And, they try to work with some of the marinas to get these guys places to stay.
Right.
It doesn't happen. The boats get impounded. And we have a lot of NIMBYs in these groups. They're like, it's not your business. Leave it alone. Right? Other people are saying, well, no, look what's happened. We have to be proactive about this. We cannot ignore it because the potential for disaster has already been proven.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we're seeing it, especially this summer.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a confluence of just really bad events. But there's many more of these. The DNR estimates there's over 400 of these ex-Navy vessels that have been dumped on individuals in the Puget Sound.
Wow, 400, that's a...
Yes, yeah. And virtually none of these people have the money to do a restoration on them.
And probably the know-how, honestly.
And the know-how, right?
Wow.
And the material costs have gone up. And what happens is these aren't usually sold directly to an private individual. They're sold to companies. Like the Dominion was owned by Foss.
Okay.
They used it as a tug until the point they realized it was no longer economically viable to keep it running. So then they dump it onto an individual who has nowhere near the resources it takes at its end of life.
Which is a lot.
It's huge.
It's a lot. I like vintage cars, and to put it in scale of a modern car maintenance versus a vintage car
Right.
maintenance, except this is on the water and it's a lot more dangerous in a way to our local environment.
And it is, and it's a great dream. I mean, most guys who are sailors, mariners, would love nothing more than retire on an old boat, maybe one they served on in the military.
Sure.
Right? Get some contributions going. And
It's very romantic.
It's a very romantic, and it's a lifestyle. But I'm sorry, there is pragmatism involved.
Yes.
Nobody has any business restoring a vessel at a commercial marina on the water. Nobody. Right? Now, Bremerton Marina, they lost most of their budget for the fall cruise-ins. People here do summer cruises.
Oh, sure.
They do fall cruises. So you'll have hundreds of boats that want to come in to the Bremerton Marina and the Port Orchard Marina to explore the downtowns. Well, that business evaporated.
Sure.
Right.
And we have cruise ships that come into Bremerton also now that you
We have
mention
cruise
that.
ships. And
Right.
the people in the Bremerton Marina go on their fall cruise.
Right.
And they go spend money up north.
Right.
Well, they're not going anywhere because they're all boomed in and told not.
Everyone has to stay in. That's
Right.
interesting. Yeah, it definitely is an economy factor
Well, our
when we
economy
think about that.
around this area is built around boating
Yes.
to a very large degree. And unfortunately, most of those are small one-owner, two-owner businesses. They're the coffee shops, they're the bakeries, they're the boutiques
Right.
that benefit from people coming in and browsing. And that's what people cruising love to do. They love
Go
to
visit small businesses.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so you're going to have, thankfully, we haven't had a huge boat go down in Liberty Bay yet. But what do you think is going to happen to
That
Polsbo?
would, right.
Right? That's just going
That
to
could be devastating to their downtown.
Right. And this is not an if, it's a when.
Hopefully being proactive about it, as your group has been,
Hopefully, yeah.
will prevent some of that.
Right. Now, we've got some couple local businesses that know about this, and they kind of help on the side. They can't be publicly associated with tattling on somebody, right? Because it impacts their business.
Sure.
But they let us know when things are happening up there. But unfortunately, we have this circuit of derelict boats with Brownsville, Bremerton, Silverdale, Polsbo, right, where
Right.
the guys want to hide out here.
Right.
And it used to be up north a little bit, Hadlock, Irondale, Ludlow,
Okay. All still in Kitsap.
all still in Kitsap.
Yeah.
And that's where we still have, our local boy still has a 83-foot Coast Guard cutter sunk up there that the DNR cannot get money for.
Right.
Right. Now, proactively, they seized 3 of his other vessels up there, but not before they caused a lot of damage.
Right. And the being proactive versus being reactive, that seems to be the real deciding factor in the outcome of these boats.
Totally.
Are we ahead of it, or are we responding with weeks and weeks and weeks of crews and cleanup efforts?
Right. And the crucial difference is the proactive is community-based.
Right.
If the community doesn't demand it, the authorities will not take action.
And building that network, which you've done through your group, I really admire that.
Yeah, well, it wasn't, I'm not going to say it's all me or anything. It's a small group of us, and we're hoping to expand. And just to say, this is too precious an environment here to have this kind of damage done.
Yeah, I love to hear people advocating for the change that they like to see.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, it's important because, like KUOW last year, when the Cardeas went aground, they had an interview with the owner. And there was not one grain of truth in that interview. But he came away as a victim.
Well, I'm sure it's challenging on both ends.
Yes, it is.
But I do love to hear that there's community growing out of this and that people are working together to solve the problem. I think that's fantastic.
Right. And I hope it carries forth.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the conversation today, Peter. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to be able to come and hopefully broaden our reach of what we're trying to do.
Yes, I think people will join you. They really care. I'm hearing a lot about it. They really care.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing this on the air and propagate it myself.
Yeah.
Although
Well, thank you.
I have
Look at
trouble
that.
doing that because when I'm in Africa, we don't have Facebook.
Well, that sounds lovely in a way. So.
Yeah, but it limits reach,
Yes. Well, thank you a lot, Peter. I really appreciate your time today.
Okay, and thank you for having me.
There's so much to cover on this topic. Knowing there are people that care and are working to prevent derelict boats from polluting our waterways gives me a lot of hope, and that anyone can help the effort. It takes us all doing our part to reduce waste and pollution of our beautiful surroundings. If you want to catch up on other episodes of Trash Talk, you can find them on the BCAT YouTube channel. Until next time, Bremerton and Kitsap.